You know that feeling when family dinner, Sunday 5 p.m., pops up on your calendar and your stomach drops before your brain even has time to react? Not annoyance, not dread, a full-body reaction. Like your nervous system just leaned over and whispered, "Yeah, we don't like this." And here's the part most people don't talk about. That reaction isn't dramatic, and it's definitely not you being ungrateful. It's your body responding faster than logic ever could. Some people see a reminder and feel warm anticipation. Others feel tight shoulders, shallow breathing, that quiet urge to disappear. And no, that doesn't mean you hate your family. It means your brain has a memory, a long one built from years of subtle stress, unspoken rules, and emotional landmines you learned to step around before you even knew what anxiety was. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why family gatherings drain you in ways nothing else does, and why that reaction actually makes sense. Here's where most people get it wrong. When you say you don't enjoy family gatherings, they immediately slap a label on you. Antisocial, cold, you just don't like people. Or the classic one, introvert. As if that explains everything. But the problem was never people. The problem was choice. Because introverts don't hate socializing. In fact, research shows they can be incredibly energized around the right people, the ones they actually choose. What drains them isn't conversation. It's obligatory socialization being placed in a room, at a table, in a role you didn't consent to and being expected to perform anyway. Your brain is remarkably good at telling the difference between a yes and a quiet, resentful no. And when that choice is taken away, your nervous system reacts the same way it does when you're stuck in traffic or trapped in an elevator with someone who won't stop talking. Loss of control equals stress. That's not personality. That's psychology. And once your brain tags a situation as unavoidable, it shifts into survival mode before you even sit down. You're not preparing to connect. You're preparing to endure. And this is where it starts to feel almost surreal. You can be 35 years old, pay your own bills, make your own decisions, maybe even run a company or save lives for a living. But the moment you walk back into your childhood home, something shifts. Suddenly, you're not just an adult having dinner. You're you as you were years ago. There's a name for this, family systems theory. Families don't operate like groups of individuals. They operate like systems, and every system assigns roles. The responsible one, the peacemaker, the screw-up, the golden child, the black sheep. And once those roles are set, they don't quietly disappear just because you grew up. They wait. Family dynamics are emotional time machines. When you show up, you're not only bringing your current self, you're stepping back into a script you didn't write but learned by heart. Your mom still sees the kid who couldn't be trusted with scissors. Your sibling still measures themselves against you like you're competing for the last slice of pizza. And without realizing it, you start responding from that old role too. Not because you're weak, but because your brain recognizes the pattern and follows it. And here's the part that really messes with your head. You can know you've grown. You can see the evidence in your life. But your brain doesn't care about resumes or adult accomplishments when it comes to family. Those neural pathways were built early, when your brain was still under construction. They're not footpaths. They're highways. Deep, automatic, efficient. So when your dad makes that one comment, or your mom uses that tone, your nervous system doesn't pause to check your age. It reacts. Suddenly, you feel smaller, sharper, more defensive. You're not choosing it. Your brain is time traveling. This is called regression, and it's not a flaw. It's how memory and emotion work together under familiarity. Your brain learned these patterns during years that shaped your sense of safety and threat. So when you're back in that environment, it defaults to the old operating system. That's why the frustration feels disproportionate. That's why you replay conversations from 20 years ago on the drive home. Your brain isn't being dramatic. It's remembering. Now, let's talk about the kind of exhaustion that confuses people the most. You sit on the couch, you eat, you nod, you smile, you barely move, and somehow, by the end of the night, you feel completely wiped out. That's not social fatigue. That's masking. Masking is emotional labor. It's the constant, quiet effort of monitoring yourself while managing everyone else's comfort. You're laughing at jokes that aren't funny. You're avoiding topics that might spark tension. You're carefully editing your reactions in real time. You're running a full PR campaign for yourself without realizing it. And the part of your brain that handles self-control and emotional regulation, it's working overtime. This isn't just true for neurodivergent people, though it hits especially hard if you have ADHD, autism, or anxiety. It's something almost everyone does around family, because these are the people who knew you before you learned how to perform acceptability. They remember when you were awkward, when you didn't fit, and part of you is terrified they'll see that version again. So you stay alert, hyper-aware, braced, and when you finally leave, your body crashes not because you socialized, but because you performed. And while you're doing all of that emotional work, there's something else happening quietly in the background. Your brain is keeping score. Humans are wired to evaluate themselves through comparison. It's how we make sense of where we stand. Psychologist Leon Festinger called it social comparison theory, but family gatherings turn it into something more intense. They become life audits, disguised as small talk. How's work? Doesn't mean how's work. It means, are you successful yet? Seeing anyone? Doesn't mean curiosity. It means, why aren't you where your sibling is? You look different means I have opinions about your choices. And here's the part that stings more than people realize. Studies show that feeling like you're falling behind activates the same brain regions associated with physical pain. Your brain processes, my cousin bought a house and I didn't, the same way it processes stubbing your toe, except toe pain fades, comparison lingers. It follows you home. It replays in your head at 2 a.m. And suddenly, a 2-hour dinner costs you an entire week of self-doubt. Let's talk about boundaries, because this is where everything quietly falls apart. In your regular life, you've probably learned how to protect your time and energy. You don't answer work emails at midnight. You don't let people interrogate your personal life on demand. You've built systems, but family operates by a different rulebook. With them, boundaries aren't respected, they're questioned. Personal topics aren't private, they're concern. Your choices aren't yours, they're family business. And here's why that hits so hard. Boundaries are how the brain maintains a sense of control, and control is directly tied to feeling safe. When that control is violated, even subtly, your nervous system reacts. So when your mom asks about your dating life for the 15th time, it's not just annoying, it's your brain detecting a loss of autonomy. And the primitive part of your brain doesn't distinguish between emotional intrusion and physical threat. It just knows something feels off. Your heart rate shifts. Your shoulders tense. You want to escape, not because you're overreacting, but because your body is responding exactly as it was designed to. So what do you actually do with all of this? Not in a self-help, fix-yourself kind of way, but in a way that lets you survive these moments without betraying yourself. First, you stop framing protection as avoidance. Shorter visits aren't weakness. They're strategy. Having a planned exit isn't rude. It's regulation. Booking a hotel instead of staying in the house isn't cold. It's distance that gives your nervous system room to breathe. Even having a friend on standby for a fake emergency call can be the difference between spiraling and staying grounded. The goal isn't to disappear. It's to reduce exposure to the parts that hurt. Self-preservation is not the same thing as rejection. You're allowed to design family time that doesn't cost you days of recovery afterward. And the more intentional you are, the less resentment builds quietly under the surface. Because showing up consciously, even for a shorter time, is healthier than staying out of guilt and leaving emotionally wrecked. And this is the part that matters most. Letting go of the idea that love automatically means access. You don't owe anyone unlimited entry to your mental health, not even family, especially not family. Maybe you still show up, maybe you don't. Maybe you stop forcing yourself into the full production and choose something smaller, quieter, safer coffee with the one cousin who actually sees you instead of the whole circus. Redefining family doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you're honest. Familiar doesn't mean safe, and love doesn't require self-betrayal. The people who truly care about you will adapt. They might not understand right away, but they won't demand you suffer to prove your loyalty. And the ones who can't respect that boundary, that tells you something important too. So if this video made you feel seen, it wasn't here to change you. It was here to remind you that protecting yourself is allowed. You're not broken. You're not cold. You're just done pretending that blood automatically equals comfort, and honestly, that's a sign of real self-awareness.